Hello, hello. My name is Linda, also known as Torta Jala around the internet, and I love creative journaling and all things stationery. Today, I wanted to share my stationery drama passport TN with you and showcase also my fine writing international pen kit, which is a pocket pen in the amber colorway. So, seriously, it was a coincidence. I was working on finishing up the insert in this Passport TN. You can see that this is the OG Midori branded black Passport TN. And inside, I have just this one insert where I've been journaling about like stationary drama topics. I know it's like very specific, but I just liked having like a very specific place to spill out these sort of thoughts that maybe are a bit critical, gossipy, like that kind of thing. But I was planning on just finishing up this insert because there's only a few pages left. And the reason is because I recently I started a big A5 Stalogy as my general stationary journal. So with that, I don't really need like a separate insert anymore. I can put it all together. So that's why I wanted to just finish this up and archive it. So I was here adding some final entries, the usual topics about, resellers, trending products, the AI controversies, and of course, we come to this pen, which is a little pocket pen that is by Fine Writing International. It's called the Penkit. The word is short for pen and pocket put like smushed together. And this is the amber colorway that I have. If you follow the fountain pen world and new releases in general, you will notice that this looks so much like the Esterbrook Niblet, right? But the Fine Writing International Pen Kit, it's been around for years. So I think a lot of people have just sort of assumed that maybe Fine Writing was making the pens for Esterbrook, or maybe they have some kind of licensing or deal in the background. Because Fine Writing, I think they do create maybe parts. Or things for other, like they manufacture things for certain businesses. But I have to say that I did found like when Esterbrook released the Niblet, it was a little bit jarring because I immediately noticed that it looked like the Penkit. But there was no mention of like a collab or anything, which usually there is mention because Fine Writing does lots of collabs when it comes to this particular pen model, the Penkit. But then again, I don't know the intimate details of these businesses, so it's all conjecture, it's all assumptions. But before, Esterbrook Niblet came onto the scene, I already knew about Fine Writing International, the pen kit, like years ago. I first saw it on Yoseka Stationery when they still had it in stock, and they do sell some of like the other fine writing pens. And I also saw a collab like just last year, I think, with Wonder Pens. And so they have a version with like a different resin of the pen kit that they were selling. And currently, I think you can buy it at Wanderlust TSL in Japan. And Galen Leather actually, I think for Fountain Pen Day this year, just released their collab with Fine Writing International. I think it's also called amber, but of course, it's like a different sort of resin pattern. And of course, there are a variety of fountain pen stores in Asia, I guess, especially, that do carry the Fine Writing International brand. So you can definitely buy the pen kit currently. It's not like it's out of distribution or anything like that. It exists. I think that perhaps it's just more readily available and known, perhaps in the Asian market, because Fine Writing International is a Taiwanese brand. And maybe American retailers, they just don't know of the brand or they don't stock the brand at all. So just to show you my pen kit, so the really cool feature about this pocket-sized pen is that it uses a number six Yovo nib. So that means that it's going to be compatible with a lot of other standard size nibs out there because so many pens use like the standard size number six Yovo nib. So I think people like that fact because it means that you could swap and play around with a lot of the nibs that you might already own. And of course, with the number 6 size nib, it's also more in line with like a regular sized like full size pen nib, whereas most pocket pens on the market, they have the smaller number 5 size nib. And I know that from a design perspective, some people feel that the smaller number 5 nib makes more sense because, the pocket pen is just physically smaller. But of course, it's all up to preference, right? There are some people that like the very giant size number 8 nib, but others say that it's way too big because then your hand is like so far away from the paper and they can't even write with it. So again, it's all up to preference, but having the number 6 size nib on a pocket pen is sort of like a feature because most all the other pocket pens, like Coeco Sports, they're number 5 size nibs. The other aspect about this pen is that it is screw to post. So there are threads here. You can see that you can screw on the cap so that it posts very securely to ensure that it is very stable. Maybe you're like traveling, you're on bouncy, transit, a train, a subway, or maybe you're even like walking and writing at the same time. So as a pocket pen, like it's something that makes a lot of sense. And of course, there are lots of colorways of this pen. And as I mentioned before, they have done lots of collabs. So if you're curious, I will include the links down below if you want to go see. What are the shops and things that I have mentioned before. But yeah, there's lots of different styles, different materials as well, some fancier than others. But I have this regular, just like amber colorway that is like the lightweight resin. It has a very bright orange cap and a creamy light colored body. And the gold triangle, not triangle, the gold rectangle here, that's the roll stop. And um, inside it also has a gold band. So you can see it's very, very autumn, right? But in terms of packaging, this pen, it just came like in a little paper black box, nothing fancy. Um, but it did come with its own mini converter, sort of like the Monteverde mini suction converters. Or you can just use standard international short cartridges. But basically, it arrives ready to go. So I've had my pen kit for only a few months since like I bought it at the end of summer. And I generally feel like the pricing of this pen, it's sort of like in the affordable pocket pen market, I feel like it's sort of like TWSBI Eco pricing or maybe just a little more. Um, Maybe it costs a little bit more than a Coeco Sport, but I don't know if you're in Asia, maybe it costs less because obviously buying from abroad, there's export prices, taxes, that kind of thing. But I feel like the idea for this pen is that it's supposed to be pretty affordable, unless you go into obviously the fancy, ebonite or gold nibs or something like that. But yeah, compared to Coeco Sport, I think that it's supposed to be similar, but I like the Fine Writing International pen kit a lot more because I think it just looks a lot classier, a lot nicer to me. But it is essentially a lightweight pocket pen. So I have a bold nib on mine, and I have mentioned before that I might want to try to like tune this nib up a bit. It writes perfectly fine. I just feel like maybe it's not perfect for me. I have a lot of pens and I like variety, so being able to switch from like one pen to the next, like sentence to sentence, paragraph to paragraph, I can definitely feel differences. So that's what I mean by, fine tuning it to me and my personal writing angle and stuff like that. So it's pretty good, but I think that I might want to play around with it. But one thing that I've noticed is that the screw to post, maybe because I am not used to it, I don't have a lot of pens that screw to post. So it's happened to me more than once already where I will unscrew the cap to close the pen, but I accidentally unscrew the whole pen body instead of just the cap. So it could be user error. Maybe I'm not paying enough attention. Maybe I'm tightening it too much. And it gets confusing when I'm like unscrewing. But yeah, generally that's the only sort of negative that I've encountered in like actual use. But generally, I think it's a very cool pocket pen at a good price for a number six nib that's like pretty much standard size like pen. And if you have other pens in your collection with the same like Yovo number six nib, you can definitely swap things out and play around. So back to the quote unquote drama. I was journaling about, seeing the Esterbrook Niblet and the fact that it's very similar, but at the same time, many pens are similar. Like if you take the cigar shape, there are a gazillion pens that, fit the same profile. So I don't know, you know, if it's possible necessarily to be like, did I invent this shape? And I don't know. I don't know the intricacies of all that stuff, but I understand that everyone has their, style and whatever it is that they want to focus on. And, there's going to be similarities and there are going to be some products that just look very similar because I definitely experienced that because when I saw it, I was like, whoa, that's like very, very similar. But just like how a t shirt pretty much looks the same no matter who makes the t shirt, it's basically the same thing, a t shirt, but the variations are going to be like the color changes, the material changes, slightly different angles of cuts or, your art or branding that goes on top of the t shirt. So, all that said, I just wanted to say that I definitely did a double take when I saw the Esterbrook Niblet release, but at the same time, I was just like, okay, whatever. It's like another pen. And obviously, Esterbrook has released their niblet in all of their classic resins. So it's almost like they have their classic line of Estes and they've created like the pocket pen versions and they have the same resins. So I mean, it totally makes sense why they would do that, right? They have their classic line and they're just creating the pocket pen counterparts. But for these past months, I've definitely like come across it and people have mentioned things, and I obviously personally do not know any specific information. I don't have any relation with the companies. And, we do not know if there are things going on in the background or a relationship. But just as I was working on this insert and journaling about it, I was scrolling on Instagram, and on Tuesday, November 11th, I happened to see a post on Instagram by Fine Writing International. Directly addressing this issue. So I just thought, like, whoa, I'm journaling about it this week and I happened to see something. So I'm going to show you the posts and read it out to you so that we are on the same page of the information that we are actually getting directly from Fine Writing International. So this is a post on their official account, and the first image, it's sort of hokey looking because it has this like purple lettering that says origin and mystery of the Penkit. It sort of looks 80s, right? Anyways, but if you click on the carousel, you can read through the details of what they posted. Their slide, it basically has a title that says The Origin and Mystery of the Penkit, and they have written, this year, during our participation in pen shows around the world, Fine Writing International has repeatedly received the same feedback from customers and friends in the fountain pen community. Why does a certain brand's pocket fountain pen look so similar to yours, yet it isn't a collaboration with you? I believe it's time to address this question that has puzzled many for quite some time. Fine Writing International began selling its own brand in 2015. We have continuously offered ODM and OEM service options to our clients. All of the fountain pens we have produced, such as the Brass Pen series, the Planet series, the Fenestra series, and now the Pencket series, are original designs created by us. From the initial design sketches to mold development and production, Fine Writing International has invested significant time and resources, all with the goal of providing pen enthusiasts with a truly unique writing experience. I guess they have a little typo there. But next slide. The origin of the pen kit can be traced back to early 2023. The initial concept came from the president of Japan's largest fountain pen community, the Tokyo Wagner Pen Club. Since Fine Writing International had long been designing and producing annual member pens for Wagner, when the club's president proposed creating a compact pocket fountain pen for its members in 2023, we refined the design and retooled several components. Eventually, this pocket pen evolved into one of our mass produced products. Because the Penkit series originated as a member exclusive pen for the Wagner Pen Club, the first version was made of premium ebonite and fitted with gold nib, positioning it as a high end model. Later, as the series transitioned into mass production, we made mechanical adjustments to improve its durability. The Penkit series' most distinctive feature, its stopper design, is entirely our proprietary creation, from the initial concept to mold development. As a result, you can also find this unique stopper element in several of Fine Writing International's other production fountain pens. Next slide. From its beginnings as an exclusive high end member pen to its evolution into a mass produced fountain pen, the original intention behind the pen kit was always to provide customers with an elegant, practical, and reasonably priced EDC pen. In the past, Fine Writing International has collaborated with many outstanding retailers and brands to release limited edition co branded versions of this design, all of which proudly bore the Fine Writing International name. Therefore, we would like to clarify that Fine Writing International has never sold this design to any company for large scale mass production. We are the sole and original designer of the Penkit fountain pen. We sincerely thank pen enthusiasts around the world for their continued support of the Penkit series, and we will keep striving to create more fountain pens featuring distinctive and innovative designs. Thank you all. Then there's the Fine Writing International logo. And in the next slide, they do show like the original prototype of the pen kit, like pictures that they created for this Wagner Pen Club and, you know, the iterations basically of how the prototype has changed and morphed into what they finally created. In the next slide, they actually open up the pens and show the inside and how like the ring was, added in. And then they show another slide with like the final version that they actually created for that pen club. And in the next slide, they show that the Penkit was originally produced as limited edition, 50 pieces made at a time for the 2023 Tainan Pen Show. And so you can see those colorways, those were created specifically for that pen show. And in the next slide, you can see that they show actually the pens at the pen show. And I think that was the last slide. And so I just wanted to show that and read that out so that we're on the same page when it comes to the information that we have been given, because I have noticed like the similarities between the Estabrook Niblet and the Fine Writing International pen kit. And on social media, in comments on posts, and on YouTube here in comments, a lot of people actually have commented and said that, oh, Fine Writing makes the pens for Estabrook. That's why they're so similar. And they just sort of assume like there's some kind of deal or something. And I just think it's so bad that people are spreading like misinformation. It's like, who do you think you are saying something that you actually do not know is true or not? Or maybe you believed it to be true, but I mean, it isn't, because one of the companies here is literally telling you that is not the case. They do not have anything to do with that, with Estabrook. So, anyways, I just wanted to bring this up because it was sort of a serendipity where I was journaling about this personally, and then it came up like on Instagram, and I was like, oh, let me just do a video about this because I am forever curious about this topic. Um, and by the way, I also wanted to show you that there is a post by Muse Pens. It's a pen shop in Hong Kong, and you can see that they have the pen kits that are currently available, including the amber colorway that I have. So, I mean, all this to say is that I don't think there is necessarily a clear cut right or wrong. I certainly don't know like the intricate legalities of these things, but I appreciate knowing the truth. And I don't like that some people are spreading information that they don't know is actually, true. Like you can't just assume something or start, responding. Like I've seen this a lot in Reddit. Or someone they just assumed, and they were like, no, Fine Writing is with Estabrook, they're doing it together, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying it so like, oh, like they know. And obviously it is not true. I just thought it was very weird because um because I've been following along and I knew of the pen, fine writing always says when they collab with people, so it's like really weird if they're not mentioned. You know what I mean? If they are collabing. So all that to say, I just wanted to spread the information so that you can make a personal decision. You know what I mean? Um, One thing is that we need to be working off the same like set of facts, quote unquote. And then, of course, you are going to have your own position and opinion and draw your own conclusions, as everyone is free to do. And, this probably applies to so many things in our lives today, right? Where people seem to be confusing each other because of misinformation. But yeah, I know this is all stationary, so it's not like super serious, but again, I think the same sort of idea bleeds into a lot of the other things in life, and I think that it did make me think a lot about that, like about my personal, obviously I have biases as well, obviously because I have a fine writing international Penkit, like I own it, and I don't have an Esterbrook Niblet. Um, I cannot show you any kind of side by side comparisons, but the price of the Niblet is a bit much for me, so I wouldn't buy it. But also because I don't actually like the resins by Esterbrook, like the classic, the cracked ice resins. So it's of no interest to me. But I'm sure other people um, might be very enticed because if you love Esterbrook's and you love their resins, they're offering the pocket pen versions, of your beloved resins. So I can totally understand why people would like it. But again, I just wanted to share all the information in case you were wondering. And generally, I just think it's good to have the correct information out there. Again, so that we're not assuming things because I've just seen it around so much. People, I don't know who these people are. I'm sorry, I can't point it, but I mean, you can do a search on Reddit and you'll find it. But, there are people that keep insisting that Fine Writing International makes the Esterbrook pens and, they have some kind of relationship or something, and obviously, this post from Fine Writing tells you that there is no such thing. There's no relationship. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring it to your attention because I don't know, I think sometimes things get lost. Or maybe lost in translation because of the fact that Fine Writing is a Taiwanese brand. They're not that big. They're not prevalent, perhaps, in like the US market. So maybe like the information isn't as um, readily available to everyone. Some people might not even know that they exist, you know what I mean? But yeah, when it comes down to this pen, it is the price, right? Because the fine writing pen kit um is priced as like a regular everyday EDC pocket fountain pen, sort of like your Coeco Sports, but maybe a little nicer. And obviously, I bought the pen, so I think it's worth it. But yeah, the Esterbrook Niblet is really expensive, but you're paying for an Esterbrook, you're paying for maybe a lot of other things that I don't know because I don't have a niblet. I've never touched it, so I don't know the differences that would warrant that higher price, besides obviously the brand. Um, yeah, so I'm just going to continue to journal my thoughts and hopefully finish up this insert, which, by the way, since I no longer um, need this Passport TN as my stationary drama passport. I'm going to need to find a new use for this TN. Let me know if you have any ideas. But yeah, the metal tag here, it's actually starting to come off. It was just glued on, so I guess that's not very permanent. But yeah, I guess it's time to revamp this little Passport TN anyway. Um, but coming back to the topic of Fine Writing International and the Penkit, yeah, I know that this subject can be touchy because of course, no one likes to be copied. Um, but at the same time, I also think that a lot of people make similar products, and I don't know like where the line is. I'm sure there are many examples of products that are very similar to other products. Obviously, if you talk about the Chinese market, there is a huge problem when it comes to copies and dupes. Um, but at the same time, usually it's pretty obvious that there is a quality difference. Like you're buying a dupe, But I don't know. I really don't know why it's more acceptable in certain arenas and not others. Or maybe because fountain pens in general, they're more of a luxury art item, and so more than just a tool. It's to be admired and enjoyed aesthetically. So when you get into that art arena, like it's really, it probably hurts a lot more to be copied in that respect, if that makes sense. But like, where's the line? You know what I mean? It's sort of like how if someone makes spoons, like a lot of people make spoons and it's just a spoon, even if the shape might be like slightly different. So I don't think people argue that much about that kind of thing. Does that make sense? And if you move into other products in the stationery world, like lately, I know that a lot of people have been using and sharing and talking about their Louise Carmen, their Paper Republic, and their Travelers Company. They all make Travelers notebooks, you know, that style. And maybe Travelers Company might have the longer like company history, but I don't know. I feel like independent makers have been there for a while, right? I mean, was Travelers Company really the ones that invented it, or were there leather artisans or small shops that did something similar, but obviously they didn't blow up and become popular and, you know, we're not under the Midori brand? I don't know. And of course, nowadays there are so many independent makers that make Traveler's Notebook. They sell on Etsy, they sell in their shops. Is it because that they're independent that we give them a quote unquote free pass? Because, you know, you could say they're technically copying Traveler's Notebook, but because Louise Carmen and Paper Republic is like their big companies, then it's not okay. Um, and either way, people are gonna hop on the trends, you know, of course things are gonna be similar. But personally, I feel like Traveler's Company, Louise Carmen, and Paper Republic, I feel like they have very different aesthetics. You know, even if the product itself is, you know, they are Traveler's Notebooks, but I feel like the three have like very different identities. So of course they're gonna draw different people. And I think that's fine, right? But I don't know. I don't know where the line is. And I know from my past experiences and my connections to certain brands and certain people and, you know, just certain feelings personally. Of course, I'm not subjective, and I don't know how anyone can be completely subjective because we are drawn to what we are drawn to, our experiences and our past and things like that are going to affect what we think, right? I think that we have learned that what might be correct under the law might not be morally correct to you anyway. So legality doesn't necessarily mean like morality, right? So, but we are the humans, the ones making the laws. So I don't know. It all boils down to your personal values and definitions of things, I suppose. And ultimately, you have to draw your own conclusions, right? Your own lines. Like what will you do with the information that you have? And I guess that's why I wanted to bring up this topic, and I hope that we can discuss down below in the comments because I think it's so important, first of all, to have the right information, and then you can make up your own mind about what you want to do or how it would affect you, or if it doesn't affect you at all. Um, Let me know down in the comments what you think about the whole, you know, stationary drama thing. I know that this is specifically about Fine Writing International's Pencket and Estabrooks Niblet, but of course there are plenty of dupes, copies, similarities, and things like that, not only in the pen world, but also in the stationary world, and of course beyond, right, in real life, in all of life. So I think that it generally brings to light a bigger topic of when products from different makers can be very similar, and as consumers, like, what do you do or what do you go by? Do you simply stick to certain brands that you're accustomed to or connected to? Or do you try to do more research and try to figure things out? Or ultimately, are you just going by price? Because that's life, right? You can only afford what you can afford. I definitely wonder about all these things and all of these topics. They're like specific cases, but ultimately it really made me think about my own decision making processes when it comes to buying things. Fountain pens, as well as stationary things, as well as all the other things we consume in life. From the information that I've learned and the situations, and of course, my own biases and experiences and past and history, I mean, it definitely does affect my personal buying choices. So please let me know what you think um, down in the comments. I am definitely ultimately curious. Thank you for watching this video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you want to see more stationery videos. I wish you a very lovely day and until next time. Bye.